I don't read like the full Bible.
Neither one of y'all started writing it.
Read the full Bible, don't mean Did you hear him?
I'm getting better.
I don't, dude, don't beat on the table
I
like
knew
you
every
always
song at
do.
church and I had to look at the Spanish song points, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn Christian
Come on
music.
down.
All of it. Every single song. You're gonna push your song to like all of them. You're gonna do every single one.
See right here, it says alligator to the river. Sling. Oh, Joe's mom about
Calling her, you see.
Think I'm help me wrangler?
Yes.
You already told me it's about to be hard.
I can see that.
Shotgun. They killed him 23. That's what I'm saying. It's not even a spoilers, but she's.
Singapore. And if you got shotgun, you're supposed to.
Does that say LNA?
What is this?
Yeah,
It
it's
says
like
maybe
alien
that's
or
right.
sheep.
Okay.
All of
That's
it's
fine.
kind of like start shooting. You got like standing there. There's some shot. Just start making off. I mean, you might kill it for a few bucks on it, but it's just gonna start hitting shells and everything. Scales and everything. Much swamp people, huh?
No, they just have the bulletproof.
I'm mad because I got it wrong.
Which swamp people is fake.
Yeah,
that had tryouts for swamp people.
It's real. They usually have to fight the fake alligator.
No, Trevor. But not all of that is real.
Of course, not every TV
A
show.
lot of that isn't real.
Yep, guys.
You can't get trouble. So you're telling me they're giving you not real
Yeah,
alligator?
fake alligator.
That's a fake alligator. Yeah, they sure let you jump. Just dragging them across the swamp.
I never said that.
And weighing them up on.
How's it good?
I'm saying like the show isn't.
Like, it's not like
saying
the
that
actual
alligator
people that live
show.
out there do that.
Yeah.
Like, they have tryouts to pick on the show.
Willie?
Trevor had home with that one day.
Willie? He does it for a living. I know there's two old people in the old guys.
Oh, you want to die?
One of
Yeah,
the brothers,
that's like, they
I'm
live
gonna do that. I'm gonna do that one day. Doesn't that say LNA?
Yeah, the natural log of A. Alright, what I need for you to be able to take away from this, so pay attention and look at them real quick. This is basically just going to be some ways to rewrite things on the product property. Product means multiplication. And what operation do you see there that goes with multiplication? It took M times N and rewrote it as what type of problem? What's on the far right side? What type of problem? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? Addition. Okay, so multiplication goes with addition. Look at the quotient property. What goes with quotient? Subtraction. Very good. And then on the power property, they brought that power, the n power, all the way down in front of the log. Okay, those are the important things we need to know. Multiplication goes with addition. Division goes with subtraction. Power comes all the way in front. All right? It's not very difficult.
I got what? Never mind.
Oh.
Good picture of it.
That's such a secret.
Big time, Gabriel.
All right, this first type of problem that we're
What?
going to look at This says log base 3. Oh, hold on. Not base, just log base 2 of 3 is approximately 1.585. Then it says log base 2 of 7 is approximately 2.807. Okay, now this type of problem, it's really very simple, but I don't use the properties very much to work this type of problem because you can just use your calculator. But I'm going to show you, in case it comes up on a test, on how they want you to do it, and then you can choose what your favorite method is. If we had, those are given. Okay, you could check those in your calculator. You could go to math and go to log base and fill in the 2 and the 3 and see if it's close to 1.585. Okay, that's how those came about. You can check those. But the problem says log base 2 of 3/7. Okay, that's the problem that we're given to simplify. Now, here's what I would do. If I was just given log base 2 of 3/7, I would do that in my calculator. Okay, this unit wants us to practice on using these properties, so they want us to see that 3 divided by 7 and know that division goes with subtraction, right? And that's the quotient property you just copied down. So all we have to do is figure out what log base 2 of 3 minus log base 2 of 7 is. And they gave you those decimal equivalents up there. So that's just type in 1.585 minus 2.807. Okay? Well, whatever you get when you subtract, that's your answer. What do you get when you subtract that?
Did you put 2.207?
2.807.
Okay.
That 8 didn't have a whole leg over there. What'd y'all get?
Negative 0.622.
Try again.
Try again.
1.32. That's 2.807.
That's a what?
That's an 8.
Oh.
Alright, should get about negative 1.222. Now, my argument though is I could just type in math and go to log base and fill in log base 2 of 3/7 quicker than that. So that's up to you. We will have variables sometimes and we'll have to do it that way. So it's a good thing to practice a little bit, but I think you can get that pretty easy without using the deal. Alright, so since we got variables, since we got to learn to use it, let's look at one with the variables. This one says ln of 5x to the 7th over y. Now this is a very common type of problem. This will show up on assignments and tests and all kinds of stuff. The directions for this say to expand. Most of the time when you're using those properties or logs, your directions are either going to say expand or condense. You know, expand means make bigger, condense means make smaller. So we want to take that and we want to expand it out. Right now it's got one log, ln, written once. We want to try to write it with as many logs as we can. Okay, to make it longer, to expand it. So, I got to notice, I see all 3 properties being used in this one little problem. I got 5x, that means 5 times x, that's product property, right? I got over y, that means divided by y, that's quotient property. I got a 7th power, that's power property. So all 3 of them are there. Okay? So start it however you want. I usually do the division first because that's like a big hunk. What does division go with? Subtraction. So this is the same as the ln of 5x to the 7th minus the ln of y. There was your quotient property. Okay? What other property do you see now? Say it again, I didn't hear you.
Quotient.
We just did quotient, that's got the subtraction sign. What other property after quotient do we have? Power. Let's do power last. So what's the other one? Product. Product means multiply. So we have a 5 times an x to the 7th. What operation does product go with?
Addition.
Addition. So we're going to have the natural log of 5 plus the natural log of L to the 7th. And then we still got the minus the natural log of y. Okay, we've done product, we've done quotient. The last one, we've got a power up there still, that x to the 7th. Your power property said you just take your power and you bring it in front of the log. So you're going to have the ln of 5 plus 7 ln of x minus ln of y. And that would be your final expanded answer. So you don't, when variables are involved like that and you're told to expand, you're not getting a number answer, you're just rewriting it. That's why when we copied those properties, I said it's super important to know multiplication and addition go together. Division and subtraction go together. Power just comes down in front.
I'm confused. How do we get that?
We had a division, so we started off with the division sign. Division goes with subtraction. So like right here, we rewrote that. So that was the first thing that
Well,
we
letters
did.
and numbers in the same.
Right there. Now we did 5 times x to the 7th. We rewrote that as addition. So we did right there. And then brought the 7 down with the power. Right there.
Pretty much we did that. We're not using that.
Uh-huh. Now let's try another one.
He doesn't put on mine. It's too big. Did you get me one?
Alright, that says ln of 3x to the 5th over y. Our directions here are the same. We're going to expand that. So we want to take that one little bitty single thing and we want to draw it out as long as we can. Again, this one has all 3 properties involved. Not all of them will do that. Some of them will be easy. They'll just have 1 or 2 of them. But this one has all 3. Okay, start with the quotient property. Tell me what you would write using the quotient property.
ln 3x to the 5th minus ln.
Very good, Stephen. There's your quotient property at work. Everybody okay on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the product property. Tell me how to write it using the product property.
ln 3 plus ln x to the 5th minus ln 1.
On 3 plus ln x to the 5th. It's the product property. Very good, sir. And then bring down your other stuff. Okay, we got one thing left, the power property.
ln 3 plus 5 ln x minus 3.
You got it, dude. Bring the power down to, ooh, connection lost. Bring the power down to the front.
They didn't get it.
Yeah, they should have said.
And that'd be it. Alright, so those we were both expanding. We took a little piece and wrote it as big as we can. Now we're going to go the other way. I'm going to give you the big one with a bunch of logs in it, and we want to condense it down to 1 log. Alright, this one says log of 9 plus 3 log 2 minus log 3. And the directions say to condense. Alright, this is what you ought to notice. Product property, quotient property, power property. Now we're going backwards this time. The last one we had one little thing and we drug it out. This time we got one big thing and we're trying to squish it in. So I'm going to kind of go in the backwards order this time also. I'm going to take care of my power first.
So, take backwards, log to the 9 plus log 2 to the minus log 2.
Okay? Now, do you know what log 2 to the third is? Can you go ahead and do 2 to the third, I guess is what I'm trying to say? We can do the 2 to the third already. It was on a variable last time is why we couldn't do that, but I'll save that for later. Alright, what about the addition? What am I going to do there?
Log 9, which is 2 to the 3rd minus log.
Every time you use the property, you drop a log. Okay, I changed this to times, so I didn't put the log in front of that 2/3. Remember, that's the point, what we're doing, trying to squish it down, not have to write log as much. Now I've got a subtraction sign. What does subtraction go with?
Division.
Not a kid. So we got log 9 times 2 to the third divided by 3. Okay, now since we got, in this case, all numbers here, we can simplify that. 2 cubes 8. 8 times 9 is 72. What's 72 divided by 3? So our final answer would be log 24. Alright, this one says log 6 plus 4 log of 3 minus the log of 3. Condensing this one again, want you to try. See how far you can get. It uses all 3 properties. It's pretty much just like the last problem that we did. Go in the same order on that last problem. See what you can get. Go. I know, I'll move it in just a second. Alright, first thing I would have done would have been the power rule. So I would have had log 6 plus log, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 to the 4th. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. Okay, if you didn't write 81 there, if you just left 3 to the 4th, you're good. Now if I use the product, I'm going to have 6 times 81. And then the quotient, see if you can skip a step there. Is that okay? If I do it all in one lump like that? Okay. I don't know without a calculator what 6 times 81 is, but I do know that 6 over 3 is 2, and I can double 81, right? Just a way to work mentally every now and then. I saw most of us had that. Everybody good there? Alright, let's look at that change of base stuff that we had. This says log base 3 of 8. Now, in my opinion, change of base is not very valuable. Out of all the log stuff that we use, change of base will probably be what I use the least. I used to use it all the time because I didn't know that in the math menu there was a log base button. So I had to use change of base all the time. Then a kid finally told me that I could hit math and go down to log base and not have to do that. But we know we could just type this in our calculator, hit math, go down and fill that in and get it done, right? Before, I mean, if you don't have a graphing calculator, then you would have to use the change of base. The change of base, that last one that we wrote down, says this is the same as just the log of 8 divided by the log of 3. And then any calculator, scientific calculator, can do that. You're going to hit log on the far left side, that normal log button, log 8 divided by log 3. What do you end up getting on that?
I got 1.224.
That's what everybody got? That's not what I got.
Log 8 divided by log 3. What
Yeah.
does yours say?
1.893.
That's what I got.
Did I put it in there right?
Let me come look.
Oh, 8.22. I didn't.
Oh, I see what you got. You can do a log here, but an LM there. They got both the logs.
Oh.
Yes. Okay, it works the same with natural logs. If you had, you could say, let's log base 6. Write that all again. Log base 6 of 24. Okay, that we know that's the same as log of 24 over log of 64. If you wanted to use natural logs instead, you could do that also. Just make sure you use both the same, either both logs, both natural logs, either one. Should end up, check this out, should end up getting you about 1.774. Is that what y'all got?
Yeah.
Good deal, good deal. Like I said, I don't use that very often because we learned how, or I learned how to just type that into my calculator and get the same answer. Bless you. Alright, we got here a formula that we can use for measuring sounds and decibels and all that. Let me write the formula and then I'll read about it to you. Alright, the formula there says L of I is equal to 10 log of I divided by I sub 0. It says for a sound with intensity I, so that's our I up there, the loudness, that's our Li, is given by this function where I in sub 0 is the intensity of a barely audible sound. It says an artist in a recording studio turns up the volume of a track so that the intensity of the sound doubles. How many decibels does the loudness increase? So they said they turn it up so that the intensity doubles. So where our I is, if we double that, we're going to have a 2I. So we would have 10 log of 2I divided by I to the 0. Okay, now what you're doing on this is using your property stuff. Okay, we got 10 log of 2I divided by all log to the 0. It said the intensity doubled. So I took the original one and multiplied it by 2. There's a subtraction piece, so I'm trying to see where that came from. Okay, it's saying, we're just going to go with this. We're going to leave it here. What would my first, if I wanted to rewrite this here, what could I do? Okay, I know that this division is going to be subtraction. I know I've got quotient. I know I've got product here. I know I got power here, but what's tricky about this power is that it's over this whole thing. So I'm going to throw that in there, save that for last. So then I'm going to have 10 log of 2I minus, as a division, the log of I0. Now I've got my product here using these same properties. So I have 10 still log of 2 plus log of I. And then I still got that one minus log of I0. Now, reason I saved that 10 for last because it was going to the whole thing. So that power now has to go to all 3 of those. Okay, so that would be log of 2 to the 10th, and then log of I to the 10th, and then log of I0 to the 10th. Only thing left that you could simplify would be your 2 to the 10th, which is a pretty big number. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 times 2 is 16 times 2 is 32 times 2 is 64 times 2 is 128 times 2 is 256. I don't know anymore. What's 2 to the 10th? Bless you. So log of 1,024. So that would be your final answer. That's just trying to take it says real life problem and put that into context using those properties.
What would this be used for?
I don't know. I don't know any big time recording artists personally, anyway. But I think if I did, I don't think they would do this. It says it's used to calculate decibel sounds, but I feel like there's electronics that do that for you. So I guess if your electronics fail, there you go. I would just stop playing if my electronics fail.
Fail, I guess. That was getting done. Anybody remember this? Are we doing this backwards now?
Alright, back to what we started with. This is an easy one. There's only one property involved, and it's the quotient property. I know that because of the subtraction sign. This is log of 7 minus log of 10. Okay? I want you to condense that. There's going to be a space for you to answer that in your classroom.
Oh, boy. Huh? Is that all we're doing today?
Alright, just showed up in mine, might have to refresh.